Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and if you haven't guessed already, yes, it's Sunday, yes, it's Car Boots Pickups Day again, and seeing the weather is really nice at the moment. I took another trip up to Chelford, and big car boots. Actually, I don't know if it's because it's Father's Day or not. Not as big as it normally is, but still, you know, a decent sized car boot sale. And I picked a couple of items up, and I picked an item. Actually, I stopped at Chelford Antiques Fair on the way out when I was leaving, and popped my head in there and actually picked something up from there as well. But excuse me, the car boot itself, for the first time for a long time, there was some actual vintage computers. There was one stall. It was I'm guessing a house clearance guy by the other stuff that he had on his stall, and he had a stall full of vintage computers, and I brought not a single one of them back with me. And the reason being prices. Unfortunately, these guys, they know what they've got now, and if it's a vintage computer, they know what they sell for on eBay. They know, you know, what they can get for them. To be fair, this guy's, these guys' price wasn't horrendous, but he wasn't really shifting on his prices. I'll go through what he had on. Like I said, this is the first time in a long time I've seen like this many computers, as in proper vintage systems, on a car boot stall. And he had a Commodore Plus 4. This is the only computer in the whole lot I was kind of tempted by. He had a Commodore Plus 4, complete with its black data set, but no power brick with it. And I think there was like one cassette in the data set, and he wanted £40 for it. Didn't know whether it worked, but he was adamant he wouldn't take any less. He wanted £40 for that. He had a Commodore 64, the later 64C, with a key missing off it. It had a data set with it again, but no other accessories, no power supply with it, nothing else. And he wanted £40 for that one. He said it would have been 50, but because it had one key missing off it, he let it go for 40. He had another one that I've got to say the price wasn't horrendous. He had a 48K Spectrum in its box with the manuals. I think it even had the Horizons tape in there. The box was not in bad condition either. It wasn't mint, but it wasn't in terrible condition. Again, it didn't have a power supply with it. None of the systems he had power supplies. And he wanted £30 for that one, which I thought was a bit... And I have a feeling it might have been quite an early issue. I had a look on the back, and it was either an issue 2 or an issue 1, and I was kind of tempted. You know, an issue 1 for 30 quid is kind of ridiculously cheap, but I couldn't quite tell. I mean, an issue 2s, I think I've got about 3 or 4 issue 2 Spectrum 48Ks, so nothing rare. Like I said, if I could have confirmed it was definitely an issue 1, I'd have probably grabbed it, but I did leave that. He also had a black and a grey Spectrum Plus 2s, so that's the grey Spectrum Plus 2 and the black Spectrum Plus 2A. He wanted £50 each for those. Again, they had nothing. I think one had a tape in it, but they had no power supplies or anything with them. They were just the computers. And the last but not least, and this is one I kind of and ahed, and it's a bit like the Plus 4, and that was actually an Amiga 500 Plus. Again, it had absolutely nothing with it. It was just the computer, and he wanted £70 for it. Now, in hindsight, yeah, it was worth £70. If you think 500 Plus, even if that, and obviously if you know that your Amigas, the 500 Plus was the first to incorporate a backup battery for the real-time clock, and That's why 500 is a much better bet nowadays, buying unseen, as a 500 plus would be, because 9 times out of 10, probably more than 9 times out of 10, that battery's leaked and it's caused quite severe damage to the main board in it. On that particular one, I couldn't actually see any major greening, like on the connectors on the back. When they're really bad on a 500 plus, when you actually look at the connectors on the back of the computer, you will see greening on the pins. It's usually if the computer's actually been stood like upright in a box like that, and as the battery's vented out, that corrosive like vapour that's come up has actually caused that that greening and that verdigris damage on the actual pins. It might have just been flat and all the damage is underneath. I did try and get the trapdoor open on it, but I didn't have anything actually on me I could prise it open. I don't think he was too keen on me fiddling about with it, to be totally honest. It was also horrendously yellowed. But I've just had a look on eBay, and I mean, there's one on there at the moment, an Amiga 500 Plus, just the computer, completely sold as seen, untested, 4 parts. It's got a day and a half left to go on it, and it's already at £75. Plus, obviously you're going to have your postage on top of that, and whatever it's going to sell for, you know. So was £70 not a bad price for that on the car boot sale. To be told, if he just said £50 for it, I might have actually bought it. I do have a 500 plus. I have a 500. I have of the you know, cheaper Amigas, like not the big box Amigas. I've got, you know, 500. I've got 500 plus. I've got a 600. I've got 1200. Yeah, I've got the collection. I just don't have any of the big box Amigas. They're a bit out of my price range. And I got my Amigas when Amigas cost nothing. I think the most I ever paid was my Amiga 1200. I think I paid £20 for that, and that had a massive box full of games, a printer and a monitor with it. And that was in the early 2000s, and I picked that up at a car boot sale for 20 quid for the entire setup and everything. And I even got another Amiga 1200 just given to me because it was going in a skip, and that's got a 030 accelerator card in it. So, you know, at one point Amigas were literally worthless things. Nowadays, you know, did I, you know, miss out there buying that at £70? I don't know. Again, with the Plus 4, I do have a Plus 4. It's not in brilliant condition. This one was cosmetically actually in a much nicer condition than the one that I've got. The problem with them, same with the C16, is that TED chip. I think I've got either 1 or 2 replacement TED chips, the original ones. And then again, you have the issues with the CPUs dying in them. I know there are modern workarounds for that now, but I can't actually think. I don't think there's a modern workaround for the TED chip yet. So am I buying another system and using up one of them very few working TEDs that I've got? Like I said, again with that, if he'd perhaps let me have it a little bit cheaper, I might have been tempted, but he was very adamant on his price. He did say, look, my prices are a lot less than you'll pay on eBay, and he's right, but it still stings me paying that for a computer on a car boot sale, especially when, you know, even like 15 years ago I was picking up for under a tenner. Anyway, that's I'll get back onto what I actually bought at the car boot sale now. That was a mini rant, shall we say, a mini moan. But that's it. I mean, this hobby is getting more and more expensive. But the older vintage record players, radios, tape recorders, they aren't really going up that much. I can still pick them up at reasonable prices. It's the 80s and 90s computer stuff that I used to pick up for far less than I could pay for like a record player or something like that 15-20 years ago. And now, you know, skyrocketed in value. Anyway, like I said, I'll reset the bench up because I've got bits on the bench. Actually, this is a... Ooh, I don't even remember that from a previous video. It's a pack tester Andy gave me a while back. And I repaired it last night. I didn't do a video on it, I must admit. I was just tinkering about with it, and I repaired that, and believe it or not, that has suffered from the same problem as the Amiga 500 Pluses do. You've got a little backup battery for the real-time clock in there that had leaked over the board, and I had to repair a few traces in there, take that battery out, put a CRC32 adapter in, stop it charging, and that works again perfectly. So I've got a slightly better pat tester than the one that I used to use. Right, like I say, I'll reset the camera now, and we'll get on to doing what I was doing the video proper, which is what I picked up at the car boot sale in the Chelford Antiques Fair today. And it's rather an interesting, I'm afraid it is a tape recorder, but I've got a rather interesting tape recorder which I haven't seen before, and I think either Steve or Andy will probably be very interested in. So I'll set back up and we'll be back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back, and the first thing I picked up was this. Now this is a Sagamo electric clock, asynchronous electric clock from the 1930s, probably the early part of the 1930s. And I just think these clocks are so attractive. I really like this style of Bakelite early 30s clocks. So much so, this is the one out of my living room. I had this on my mantelpiece for many years as my main timepiece, as my main timekeeper. Unfortunately, the winding's gone open eventually in it. Again, these are from the 1930s. Well, you might notice that's branded Sagamo. That one's branded Edison, as in the Edison light bulb company. Now, they are actually both made by Sagamo. Sagamo's quite an interesting make, actually. Most of the analog electric meters used in the UK were made by Sagamo. They also make time switch. I believe the company's still going, but they make time switches and basically electromechanical switching devices. I believe it was originally in an American company, but they formed a British subsidiary. If you can actually say that word. Like I said, and I believe they are, like I said, they are actually still going strong today. But I was really disappointed when that this one failed. I actually thought these had a Smith's movement in it. But it doesn't. Like I say, it has this Sagamo movement in it, so I can't do what I was originally planning to do, which was just put another coil off a different Smith's movement in that mechanism, because I don't think it would work. Like I said, it is a different manufacturer. There's a possibility I might be able to swipe one. Now I know it is actually Sagamo. I might be able to swipe one like out of an old time clock or something like that, and get that one to work. But I spotted that one at the car boot sale, and if you actually look at the Bakelite, now this is polished. I do keep that clean with Baco Bright polish. It's just got a few fingerprints from me handling it now. That has got some beautiful graining in the Bakelite. I think once I've polished that, that's actually going to look an even nicer clock than this one here. I think the Bakelite, patterning in there is going to come out even more, and that's going to actually look amazing. Now, it didn't cost me very much. The guy let me have that for £5, but he did say he hasn't got a clue whether it works or not. So like I said, at £5, I took a chance on it. So let's have a look inside it and let's see whether this thing is actually going to be able to be made to work again. I need a small flat blade screwdriver, I think. That should do. And it's a while since I've been in one of these. But if I remember correctly, you have to take off the... there we are. The adjuster there. That pulls off. I'm going to take these screws out. That was a bit stiff. And the back is slightly deformed there. Right, two final fixings here, and what we can do is we can measure the coil for continuity, and if the coil's got continuity we can just bodge on a wire and we'll see whether this clock is going to work, and I'll show you the starting procedure for one of these clocks, because it's more akin to starting your motorbike than setting a clock. Right, let's pop the back off and let's have a look inside. Well, that actually looks really clean in there. That's the kick mechanism there. The clock seems fairly decent. I can't see anything that looks damaged in there, and this is where we need to connect. Well, first of all, we'll check that and we'll see if we've got continuity between those 2 points. If we do, and the coil's good inside, then we should be alright. I said that is unfortunately what's wrong with my one there, and that, if I could even get the mechanism apart, which doesn't look too impossible to get to the coil's underneath there. Basically it's there, the coil. If I could find a replacement, I could probably quite easily change the coil in there, but to actually rewind it, it's like as thin as a human hair, the wire that coil's wound on. It's beyond my skills, put it that way. But there may be a possibility in the future to get a coil and put it in that one. The one thing I really don't want to do, I have got one clock that I did it 2 years ago, and I do slightly regret it, is basically take the insides out, gut it, and put a modern battery movement in there. But I mean, it makes the clock easier to work. It means you don't have the clock plugged in or anything, but it ruins the originality of them. Right, let's set that to about 2000 ohms. Let's see if we've got anything. Oh, look at that. Yes, I think we've got a good coil there. Yeah, I think we have got a good coil there. Let's see. Yeah, about 6k on the coil there. Right. Now, I'm not leaving these wires on. No, I'm not going to use them. That's even too dodgy for me. That'll do. We will just loosely wire on the cable now, so we can at least see if the clock will work. Really, for ultimate safety, what I should really do, and what I will do, is put a 3-core cable on here, so live and neutral to them, and then I'll earth the rest of the actual movement. Because if you think, basically the back there is all metal, and it fixes to the actual movement with metal studs, so you've got the potential that if anything went wrong and it wasn't earthed, you got hold of the clock to move it and it's live, you know, zap. I've got some wires here, but for initial testing, will be okay. Let's get these wires so they're nice and okay. Make sure that that is not touching anything, because that is cloth insulation, and that is what, 80 years old, I think, that insulation now. I think these clocks are early 1930s, about 32, 33, so you know, it's got some serious age to it. I'm not sure how long they actually made this particular model for. I've seen a few iterations of it, some a little bit fancier than others, as you can see by the dials. This has got a bit more of a fancy dial, and this has a bit more of a fancy second hand on it as well. Let's bring that round there. Get hold of that one and just pull it round. There we go. Pull that in there, tighten that up. Okay. That will do for our initial testing there. That's going to be absolutely fine. What I will have to do though is put the back on the clock, so I can just get all the controls and everything lined up, because that kick there, it really needs the slot there to work correctly. If you try and do it without, you can overstress it. Just for a little bit of safety, we'll put a knot in this, but this cable is not staying on here, definitely not. So we will be putting a proper cable on it. Also, I will get some clock oil. I've run out actually, and I will give the clock a service, just lube where it needs lubing on it. There are some places on these you really don't want to get any lubrication, but there are also plenty of places that do need a little dab of lube. Just make sure that's nice and tight. I don't want that coming free, but no, that's going to be fine just for initial testing. We'll put the back on. There we go, that'll be okay. Just get that to line up. There we go. So it doesn't really want to be pressed in like it was before. They only need to be just flat with the, like that. Put that on there. Make sure that that goes back on, and we can actually try the clock. Okay, that's gone on there. Just tighten that screw back up. Okay, that's it. I'll put these back in just for completeness, just for now. Right. Now we'll just reiterate again, this cable is not staying on here, this is literally just for me to test, because I will be pulling this clock, I said, apart, cleaning the case, cleaning the brasswork on it, lubricating the mechanism, and then adding a decent modern 3-core mains cable to it. I'll see if I can find something that looks reasonably period correct as well, rather than just a piece of white or something like that, which I think looks absolutely awful. Right, so that will do for initial initial testing. Let me get my safe block out. Oops, pushing you around there, aren't I? Let's strip them wires off. Now he finds his wire strippers rather than using my teeth before. Right, okay, there we go. Right, now we could just use that, but we will stick it through the safety lamp as well, just in case something shorts out. It will at least prevent a pop and a bang. And this thing pulls so little current, I very much doubt you'll even see the bulb glow, to be honest. These pull a tiny amount of current. Okay, so live in, neutral in. Shut that down, and when we switch that, obviously that will energise the clock. No, it won't, because I haven't put the bulb in. Right, there we go. And we're going to need this out anyway for the next thing we're going to look at. So it's all well and good. Right, can you see the clock there? Right, we will switch on. As you can see, the clock's doing absolutely nothing. It's not turning. It's not doing anything. And we'll turn the clock round. We see this little lever here. This is our kickstart lever. And basically, to start these clocks, what we have to do, it is like an old motorbike. You bring it up, you can hear the motor clicking, pull it down. If you look, the clock's now running. So you do literally have to kickstart the clock. As you can see there. Oh, it's stopped. So I think the mechanism will need this mechanism is going to need, there we go. You can see it's ticking again now. So it will just need some lubrication basically. The most important thing is that coil is actually good. Because as I said, unfortunately on my other one there, that coil has now failed. But it is, you know, 80 plus years old. Let's see if this will actually do a full revolution of a minute. And interestingly, that's actually got a slight tick to it, as where my other one is completely silent. But I have a feeling that this might be like a slightly more upmarket model, and that was one of the ones they sold off for badge engineering, because I believe they actually did do that. They would make like clocks like this and allow other companies just to stick their brand on it. I think it was around here it stopped last time. Let's see. And no, it's running. It's gone. Yep. Let's see if it gets around to 12 o'clock again. But I've had this with these type of clocks before, where sometimes if they've not been used for a very long time, they do take a couple of kicks. Like a motorbike, if you've not ridden your motorbike for 6 months, it might need a few kicks of the Kickstarter to actually get it going. And these clocks are exactly the same. So yeah, that seems to be working quite nicely. So I'll switch it off now, because I just wanted a quick test just to make sure absolutely that, you know, the windings were good in there and the clock was actually going to run. It'll now, in fact I'll do it right now. We'll just we'll snip that wire I put on off, and it will be, like I said, I'll clean it, I'll take the clock all apart, I'll take the movement out of the case, give the case a really good clay. I've got some Baco Bright polish, polish all the case up. The brass actually isn't in bad condition. It's far less tarnished than it is on that one, if you look. I'm talking about the bezel around the outside there. Obviously this has a white face, this has a gold face, but yeah, so that was my first purchase at the car boot this morning, and that cost me a £5. So I was quite pleased with that for £5. Especially I've just seen someone's got one of these on eBay at the moment, and they're trying to get £150 for it. So I wish them good luck with that. They're not worth that. I reckon a really nice working one's probably worth about £20 or £30. So yeah, really pleased with that. Right, on to the next thing. Let's move my clocks. I'll put that one back on its display shelf. And let's get onto this this tape recorder. Now you might say, oh no, another tape recorder. Yeah, I have been buying quite a lot recently, and I'm not a tape recorder guy. I'm not a massive interest in tape recorders. I have a couple of very nice tape recorders. One actually which I need to repair. It's got a problem in the preamp stage on one channel. That's a really nice Akai XBBC one. And I also have a really nice rack mount Pioneer unit, and those are what I use if I want to play reel-to-reel tapes. These players, they're a slight interest to me, but I know Steve and I know Andy really enjoy messing with them. And this is something a little bit more unusual. I have never seen one of these for sale at a car boot sale in the for sale in the UK. And what we've got, we've got a Sony. Now, yeah, we all see Sony reel-to-reel tape recorders every now and again, but this one is really early. This is a seriously early Sony cassette player, reel-to-reel player. And this is the, if I'll tip it up, hopefully you can see this out. This is the Sony transcriptor tape recorder. Not tape recorder, tape recorder. I've never seen. I think that is a sign that this thing is pretty early. I know that's one of the first things that Sony actually produced were tape recorders. I've just noticed something on this. I think this is transistorized. I thought this would be a valve player by the style of them. Can I get you out a little bit? No, you're as far out as I can get you. Let me see if I can get you up a little bit. There we go. I actually thought this would be a valve unit by the look of it and everything, but I've just noticed this. Tape recorder, transistorized. So this, I think this is early Sony transistorized solid state stuff. This could be very interesting. Right, take the lid off. An original power cable there. And a deck which, like I said, I'm not familiar with these at all. I'm relatively familiar with, like, British tape recorders, even some like Grundigs and German stuff, but this is new to me. This is very much new to me. Being that it is transistorized, I wonder how stupid it would be of me to actually try and just power this thing up, or should we try and get inside it and have a look inside it first? It does have some screws missing actually. I wonder how hard it would be to get inside it. I think there should be a fixing screw there which is missing. Have a look on the back here. Well, there's our AC input there, and Sony tape card and model 101. I haven't actually even looked this thing up yet, but Sony card, Tokyo, Japan, and it's designed for 220 volts AC, 50 or 60 hertz, so we should be alright powering it up. Our mains is around about 240 volts. With this being transistorized and everything, I don't think that extra 20 volts is going to cause a major issue. And we could run it through the safety lamp, which will drop, you know, 10 or 15 volts or so anyway, which will probably be a sensible thing to do. Let's have a quick look, see how hard it would be to just pop that top off and have a quick look. Let it come off easy enough. So it looks like someone has been in this thing previously. There's a screw missing from the back there. There's a screw missing there. Are you going to come off? Oh, you've got a set screw on the back of you. Let me find that screwdriver I just had. Too big. Oh, you fit. There we go. I can take that off. You pull off. Yep, you pull off. Again, I think they will just pull off, but we might break them. They're very, very brittle old plastic. Let's have a... There we go, that one's off. There we go, that one's off. That was a little bit nerve-wracking getting them off. I'll have to take that capstan there off, I think. If that will indeed come off. It's got a knurled screw on the end of it, so it looks like it does. Yeah, it just needed a little bit of persuasion. I'll take that off. That should pop off. And then we've got 2 remaining screws there. Let's pop them out and we can have a quick squiz inside it. I'm guessing all the belts are going to be junk in it, so we're probably not going to get it to play, but we'll see. Interestingly, I can't see a tape counter on it. It just has a record noise level meter there. Okay, what else is holding it? I'll have to lift that off. Oh, I believe we have to unscrew those as well. No. Oh no, they're part of that. So what's holding that now? That seems fairly free there. Those are part of the top. Something's still holding that in position. Oh, still something holding that. But I can't see any other fixings. How deliciously odd. You see, everything seems to pull up. But it's not lifting free. See, it's free there. So what am I missing? So I can move the whole thing about. Not just stuck in that corner, is it? Okay. What on earth is holding you down there? Do I have to take... Just try taking that off there. You're literally exploring this thing with me, because I've not a clue about this machine. No, I don't think that did anything. Tell you what, folks, just give me a minute, and I'll try and figure out how we get the top off this, and we can carry on. So I'll say back in a sec. Right, okay folks, how many of you were screaming at me? It's in the middle, it's in the middle. It's in the middle. Right, okay, that should be the last screw out. And I also took those out as I was fiddling about, but there we are. We're off. Wow. Look at that, folks. That looks a right beast. Notice we've got a multi-tap transformer there, so this could be configured to run on 110 volts. Let's see if we can figure out how we can perhaps just sneak the chassis out. It obviously feels like it's fixed somewhere else. I can't actually spot where. It's got some movement that way. Let's have a look on the bottom. Ah, right, hang on, let's whip them screws out and hopefully we can pop this entire player out of the case and we can have a quick look. So what that probably means is if I just turned it over and just took these 3 screws out, the entire thing including the front cover would have just popped out of the case. Right, let's try again now. Leave them there. Yeah. Righty ho. Wow. Okay, right, now I'm impressed. That's a valve. I thought this thing said it was transistorized. Those are valves. So I've got is it hybrid? Is it transistorized and valves? It's also got wedding confetti in it. This is most interesting. Yeah, it's full of wedding confetti. And a seriously long, look, incredibly old wedding confetti. Wow, a piece of wood that's come unglued. That looks like it came from there, so that'd be fairly easy to stick back. Right, so why is it saying about transistorized? So this has definitely got valves in it. And transistors, it is hybrid. So we've got transistors on this board here. We've got a valve there, which I'm guessing is the rectifier. So have we got? It looks like we've got transistors in the actual like preamp stage. We've got a valve for the output stage, a valve rectifier. This is really quite interesting. Yeah. That seems to be okay. And what's it, even more, it's absolutely full of wedding confetti. Just see if we can get some of that out. because obviously if we're going to attempt to power this thing up, I don't think wedding confetti is a good thing to be in there. Ah, there we go. Let's have a, yeah, look. If we do power this up, I think it will be very briefly. We've also got a spider's nest. They're spider's eggs. Are you alive or not? I think it's a well deceased spider's eggs, that, by the look of it. I'll put that in the bin. Let's continue excavating confetti. Some rather, oh, that's a piece of tape. I didn't need to get these out. Honestly, I didn't need to get them out. It came with its own pair. I guess this belonged to a lady at some point. They're a nice pair of little tweezers, actually. Yeah, those are really, you know, really fine. They're going to be handy. So bonus, we've got bonus component tweezers. Let's have another quick look around this. One thing I do know is that Japanese capacitors were not the best. So there's a good chance that, although these electrolytics here might be a bit, they're probably bad, to be honest. I can't see a load of capacitors that I'd be incredibly worried about powering it up, though. I think we might give it a little tiny go. I can't see anything that's absolutely screaming at me, don't plug this thing in, put it that way. It doesn't look too bad. The main smoother there. So that will be the rectifier there, our output valve there, output transformer. I'm guessing we've probably got another. How are we getting the DC to power this? Is it being derived off the valve? They could be driving the DC for this off the valve. I haven't got a circuit for this, so I'm just guessing at the moment. Or it's got a separate tapping on the transformer and probably a solid state rectifier somewhere, but I can't. That's what I was just looking for now. I can't spot anything that looks like one. Not off the top of my head anyway. But the mechanism looks in really nice order. Really nice order, actually. A little bit of muck and grease in it and cobwebs. This thing's obviously sat for a very long time. So I can't see anything on it which is making me think, don't plug this in. Obviously it is going to need new capacitors in it and probably quite a lot of other commissioning work, but that's probably not going to be me doing it, to be fair. This will be most likely, well, it is going to get offered to either Steve or Andy, whichever one of them wants it more. Unless I find out it's worth a fortune. I doubt it. I don't think these things are worth a huge amount, to be honest. Yeah, it actually looks in pretty good condition in there. I can't see anything. There's no wiring that is alarming me. I can't see anything particularly burnt up and melted in there. So I think what we'll do is we'll remount it in the case. I'll have to find out where that's come from. I thought it was down there, but no, it's not, because that's the hole, that hole and that hole are what actually mount the chassis down. obviously dropped out from somewhere, so that will need to be found where that goes and glued back in place, but I think we'll be okay for the time being. We'll put this back in the cabinet. Oops. So we don't want to trap that wire like that. Yeah, not the easiest thing to work on. Bit of a mare to work on, if I'm being brutally honest. So we need that in a place where we can get this down, but not get it to interfere with the fan inside. The fan. There we go. It's in. Lovely. Right. Let me put them screws back in to hold it in place. In fact, tell you what. I'll reassemble this, and we'll come back as soon as I've got it into some state where we can actually try showing it some power. So, back in a sec. Right, okay, as you can see, I've got it all back together. It wasn't actually too bad to do. Really nice I just seem to like this mechanism. It feels nice. You know, the click on the switch, everything just feels, even though this thing is like gummed up, ancient, not probably been touched in years, even all the controls on it just, they feel right, you know, they feel nice. It's quite strange for a machine, you know, of this age, and just, it's obviously as found condition. Right. I'm sure some people will criticise me for this, but this is how I do it. We'll just have a quick look in there. Obviously, again, this cable is not up to code. If this was to be really put back into proper use, ideally it could do with a figure of 8 style. It's not a figure of 8, sorry, a IEC, or like what they call a Mickey Mouse style connector using. This is akin to a figure of 8. Obviously it's only 2 core. This is all metal. I would really like to see it earthed if this was to be, like I said, if this was to be put into proper use. And it could be. It's got a proper mains transformer in there. I can't see any reason why it couldn't be earthed. But that's okay for the, you know, it will do us for a quick initial testing anyway. But I would not be leaving, if I was to do anything with this anyway, I would not be leaving that cable on it. So single insulation, it can be put in either way around, not a big problem because it's AC only with a mains transformer, but like I said, no provision for an earth at all. And we'll plug that into the mains in the back. And then I've got the, we'll see if we can get this just in shot. And put the safety lamp there in shot, and I'll connect it up with the safe block. So at least if there is anything catastrophic wrong, like I said, the lamp will light and we can just kill the power. But I'm really intrigued to see exactly whether there is any life in this thing. So much so, I have actually dug out, I had that laying around from the previous Car Boots Pickups video, but I've also grabbed one of my pre-recorded tapes. Not one that I'm particularly precious about, so it doesn't matter too much, but it will give a decent account of itself. Right, let's plug that into the mains there. And we are going to be super careful around this, one hand only on the actual machine, bearing in mind that this thing is not earthed. Okay, we'll switch on, we'll engage that, we will switch on. So basically the safe block is energised, it's going through the safety lamp at the moment, but obviously the power is off there. we will switch on and we will see if we have any signs of life. So I've heard the motor fire up in the player. Pilot lights come on. I'll keep my hand on the off switch. Can't hear any crackling or anything. And that lamp is fairly bright, but oh, there we go. We have some activity. Right, I'm going to shut off. But as you heard then, like I said, the light did light reasonably bright, but not mega bright. That was just drawing current for the motor, for the transformer and everything. And you did hear some crackling then, so we obviously do have some activity from the amplifier. And we'll grab my, what we didn't quickly test was whether we had any activity. Let's do that before we actually try and thread this thing up. I'll switch back on. And hear the motors going, and let's just see if we've got any activity if I switch it into, we'll try rewind first. Yeah. Stop. Try forwards play. Yep. Let's try fast forward. Indeed. Back to normal. Off. We'll turn that off. Right, let us try seeing if we can play a tape through it. Now we're not wanting to run this machine very long because obviously it does have old capacitors in there, although saying that I did not hear any mains hum. So that main smoother in there is probably okay. It's actually the smaller electrolytics and like the grid decoupler for the output valve, things like that, which would be more of a concern to me. So like I said, we're not going to play this machine for very long, but I would just love to see whether it can play a tape. Get the leader through there. Let's get that wound on. Okay, we're good to go. Now I'm not sure what speed. Actually, does it give us a speed on there? No, I can't see a speed on there. Obviously, this is actually a 2-speed machine, so we have got 2 chances of it actually playing correctly. Right, let's switch on again. And if you notice, that bulb's actually dimmed. I don't know if you can tell on the camera because the camera does kind of compensate, but that has actually dimmed down from when we first powered this machine up. So it's probably the capacitors there are reforming to some extent. Right, we've got some audio there. Let us see if it is going to play. And we'll stop straight away because that's coming off the capstans. I'll just switch off because I do not want to run this machine. Ah, I'm at the wrong side of that, I think. Yeah. I should be there, like that, and I wasn't. Let's get that back where it should go. That looks about right now. Let's put them back on. Right. I'll switch back on. So I'm switching off whenever I'm not doing anything because I don't want to stress the electronics in here. This is seeming like it might be quite an interesting player. Right, we'll go back to forwards. That's correct now. That's playing too fast. There we go. Plays. Now it's quiet, that's full volume, so I'm not going to play it for very long. Let's just see if it'll In fact, let's see if it'll fast forward. Oops. I think we just jumped that then. Let's get that back where it should go. Let's try playing again. We've jumped off the capstan there. Let's try that again. There we are. Right, we'll stop that again. We'll try rewinding. For some reason it doesn't want to seem to rewind. So there's obviously issues with the mechanism. In fact, what we'll do is we'll switch off and we can just manually wind the tape back. In fact, where can we put it? There. I don't want to damage my tape. Even though it's, like I say, it's not a tape I'm precious about, it's the King and I. It's not something I really listen to, but it makes a good test tape. And yeah, so basically the machine is working. It's going to need a proper good service. Obviously electronically, and the mechanism is just a little bit gummed up, but all the functions so far are there. Right, there we go. Let's get that tape back off. And put the tape away. So yeah, that was the second thing that I picked up at the let's get that disconnected so we're safe. That is the second thing that I picked up at the car boot sale. I am probably not, I am kind of getting slightly interested in it because it's so unusual being that hybrid design inside, and it is absolute battleship construction. It really, really is. So if I don't do something with it myself, like I said, I'm pretty certain that either Andy or Steve will most definitely take that machine on and make it something very, very, very nice indeed. Because it's all there really. The cabinet is not, it's not good, but it's not terrible. It's tidy. You can easily tidy that cabinet up. The feet on the bottom have gone just through it probably sitting for 50 years on them feet, but the actual feet it stands on while it's playing are actually still in really, really nice condition. It's not terribly bashed up, it's a little bit rough, but it is all there. I paid 10 quid for it, which, to be honest, with one this unusual, I'm quite pleased with that. And you know, it's one of them ones, like I said, I can let Andy or Steve have it for what I paid for it really. If I don't decide to have a fiddle with it myself, I am kind of getting in. I might keep it for myself and have a play with it. I might pass it on. I'm not 100% sure yet, but it's certainly quite an interesting machine. Right, so we'll get that off the bench, and we'll get on to the last item that I picked up. And I didn't actually pick this up at the car boot sale. I picked it up at the Chelford Antiques Fair. I knew that they did have an antiques fair in Chelford, but I didn't realise it was like once every month at like the local village hall. And I went a few years ago and it weren't really my thing, but seeing I was passing, it's only £1 entry. I thought I'd pop in and have a look. Most of the stalls, to be honest, not things that really interest me, but there was one stall, and there's a little old dear. She's actually in her 80s and still trading as an antiques dealer, and I picked this up off her. We've got a robber, unfortunately, R200, little AM radio. I believe this is from the very, very late 1950s or the very early 1960s. I'm pretty sure were these the first Roberts transistorized radio? I'm I have a feeling they were the first. It's the model R200. I believe all the ones before this were Valve. In fact, they did actually a set that looked virtually identical to this, apart from it used the miniature valves and 2 batteries, obviously, HT and low, high tension and low tension batteries, and this is a transistorized one. As they go, it's a slightly later than the very first ones, because if we look inside, we have the dreaded AF117 transistors there. It does have a few of the OC series, which the earlier version of this would have used all the OC series transistors. This being, like I said, a slightly later one. We have got 3 of the dreaded AF117s there, which basically means, yeah, it doesn't work. I saw it on his stall and I was looking at it, and we got chatting, and I said that I basically played about with radios and anything vintage electronics, and she actually took my number in case she's got any sets that she wants to have looked at in the future. But she honestly didn't know whether this radio worked. She said she had a battery in her car, so she'd go and get it and we could see whether it played. So she got a PP9 battery and we tried it, and the radio is absolutely dead. There's no click from it, there's no sign of life at all when we tried it in the thing. So I ended up giving her £10 for it. She wanted 15 for it as a working radio. Like I said, it didn't work at all. So I gave her £10 for it. Which, yeah, it's actually not too bad a price for one of these. They are quite a collectible radio, and every one of these, I've actually got a scrap one of these kicking about somewhere, which I can pinch that badge off and pinch the, it's got one bright missing there. The dial seems to work nicely and everything. All the rest of the switches are all okay. But every single one of these I've ever seen has either had the handle missing completely, or it's had someone's made a new handle out of like a belt or something. That has actually got the original, with the original plastic, the original fixings and everything handle, which does make it quite nice. The vinyl has faded, but that could be recoloured quite easily. It's got one little dent in the speaker grill there. Quite possible I can actually push that out when I've got this thing all apart to repair it and took the speaker out. There's a good chance I can actually push that out. If I can't, I have a feeling that the grill on the scrap one that I've got is actually in slightly better condition than this one. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I think it's in a little bit better condition than this one. Shall we put some power to it and see what it does? I tried it with a, she said it was a good 9-volt battery, and it didn't do anything, so we will hook that up to the bench supply, switch that on. Let's get that up to about 9 volts there. And we'll get a good connection on that one. Get a good connection on that one. Now there is actually a little click there. Right. It has actually got a little bit more life in it. Now it's on my bench power supply than it did. We've just got insanely bad. I don't think so. So our audio amplifier is working, but we don't have any look from the radio itself. Let's turn that right up and spin it round. And I bet you any money, either that one, or that one is bad. One thing we can try occasionally can get an AF117 working by giving it a tap. Because what happens with these, we got it. I thought we might have just had it then. There we are. I think that's the culprit one. So occasionally, just giving them a tap like that, you can get them to fire back in life. The other thing you can do with them, and I don't know if I can get in here easily to do it, is you can cut the screen lead off. And if you cut the screen lead off, sometimes they will start working again. Did you just hear it then, as I was fiddling about with them transistors? It basically just fired up for a second. We got it? But that is definitely our issue with this set. Is, in fact, what I will do, if you just bear with me a second, I will just see if I can pull up the pin out for the AF117 and remember which one of them wires is the screen wire. We'll snip the screen wires off and we will see whether that's going to actually make it play. So back in a sec. Right, okay, we're back. I've just quickly buzzed it out, and it's actually the red wire there is what's being used as the screen wire. So see, I can just go in here. This doesn't work all the time. It depends where the short in the transistor is, but come on. It's very tricky to do when you when it's still in the radio like this, but bend that out of the way. So that's a screen cut on that one. Still no sign of life. Let's try cutting the screen on this one. That's the screen cut on that one. Oh, annoying, I think I've just cut the collector at the same time. Oh, damn. Well, I was trying to show you that basically sometimes when you cut the screens off, you can get the transistor to work. Unfortunately, because of the way that was, when I've snipped the screen off it, I've actually snipped the I think the collector wire next to it, so I'll have to just change that transistor out. But yeah, I have. Damn. So it's not going to play ball now. But basically, occasionally when you just cut the screen leads off, you can get. Can I just get that to connect? No. Well, in fact, just for giddles, let's see if we can cut the one off that, and we'll quickly see if we can get that to connect, and see if it will just fire up for a brief second. So cut the screen on that wire there, on that transistor, sorry. And let's just see if I can remake this connection that I broke there really quickly, just with a. We'll see if it fires into life for a second. No. The chance when I just touch those two transistor legs back together, we might have got a little bit of audio out of it, but no. It doesn't happen all the time, you see. Sometimes with these AF117 transistors, essentially what happens is you get little tin whiskers form inside the transistor, and they take the active elements of the transistor and they short them to the can. That's why occasionally when you cut the can screen lead off, the transistor will start working again. But what can happen is you can get that many of them grow that even though you cut that lead off, there's still other parts of the transistor inside the transistor which are shorting out, and the transistor just won't work anymore. So what we'll have to do is change out those three AF117s there, and this radio will probably actually work then. I'll probably do a video on it, to be honest, because I've not done repairing one of these radios for a while on the channel, so it would make a nice interesting video for the channel showing just doing that work on them AF117s. And this will make quite a nice little radio, to be honest. I believe that has been changed in the past. That's a radio spares capacitor. They weren't used originally, so this has been to a repair shop probably sometime in the late 60s or 70s, judging by that component there. But yeah, so like I said, that you will definitely be seeing this in an upcoming video, and we'll get that playing really nicely again, and we'll probably even do some of the cosmetic work on it as well. I am planning to do a few sets up like this and see how well they do on Etsy, to be honest. I keep thinking about Etsy and setting something up to shift some of the sets that I want to thin my collection down slightly. Anyway, actually, I'm going to leave it there for now. This was just a quick show and tell and that mini rant about the price of vintage computing at car boot sales now. Anyway, like I say, I'm going to leave it there for now. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Shame we didn't get that to play, but it's really nice to hear that Sony play, and it's really nice that that clock I picked up for a £5 actually works. So I will say thanks for watching and goodbye.